We're in the final days of the NASCAR regular season. The pressure is on, and unfortunately, several key contenders are off. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Watkins, Glen. Man, I was looking forward to this race this year. I thought Indianapolis last week was just the appetizer. You had three bubble drivers, Michael McDowell, Daniel Suarez, Chase Elliott duking it out for the win. McDowell coming through in the clutch. I expected more of the same, if not something better, to be cooked up at Watkins Glen this weekend, and unfortunately, I'm going home hungry. Let's just jump right in. First and foremost, I want to give all the credit in the world to William Byron, Rudy Fugle, the whole number 24 team. They get their fifth win of the season to lead all drivers. The playoff bubble battle was a huge disappointment today, but William Byron put forth a fantastic effort. He deserves a ton of credit. He'd struggled the past few weeks since that win at Atlanta. I looked it up. His last 5 races, he had an average finish of 21.6, 0 top 10s. Shows up here at Watkins Glen, and I was also shocked to find out that he's never won a road course race. I thought it was kind of cool in his post-race interview. He immediately thanked Max Pappas, well-known road course racer, has helped teach him, has helped coach him over the years. I didn't realize Byron had never won a road course race. He's often competitive. I remember he won the pole, I think, for Coda earlier this spring. So I'm shocked that this was his first road course race, but it was a well-deserved victory. I really don't have much else to say. This team needed to build up some momentum before the playoffs began, and this is the way to do it. I need to look up how this affects the regular season championship. I think Byron has been mathematically eliminated from winning the regular season championship, but he won a stage today, second in stage 1, so he collected 59 points. I'm sure he's at least gained a position in the regular season standings, which every position after next week is worth a playoff point. So a very productive day for William Byron. If Michael McDowell doesn't drive through too many pit boxes, if his pit crew doesn't jump over the wall too soon, if McDowell's engine doesn't quit on him, maybe Michael McDowell would have made this finish a bit more interesting. And the same can be said about Kyle Larson. Early in stage 3, Kyle Larson was charging through the top 5 quickly. If he doesn't speed on pit road during that final cycle of green flag pit stops, maybe Kyle Larson, maybe Michael McDowell could have battled toe-to-toe, door-to-door with William Byron. But once they fell out of contention, William Byron was on cruise control. So congratulations to the 24 team. 5th win of the year. We've been waiting for Byron's breakout season. It's upon us. We're in the thick of it. I do now want to focus on the playoff bubble. Again, last weekend at Indianapolis, the road course, McDowell, Elliott, Suarez finished 1, 2, 3. I think we looked at this race and said, hey, if the old road course superstar AJ Allmendinger is going to show up this year, it's going to happen at Watkins Glen. We looked at Ty Gibbs, who won the Indy Road Course Xfinity race a week ago. Yesterday, he was going to win the Xfinity race until he got wrecked by Sam Mayer. I know he got into Mayer a little bit at the restart previously. I'm not here to debate whether that move was fair or foul, but the point is Ty Gibbs was considered a favorite in this race. I expected the playoff bubble battle to be fascinating this weekend. There's a ton of pressure on these guys. And unfortunately, beginning in qualifying, we saw some of these contenders crumble under that pressure. Despite being winless this season, Chase Elliott was the clear favorite coming into this race. You look at his road course results this year: 5th, 3rd, 2nd. Watkins Glen, his last 4 starts, 1st, 2nd, 4th. You could argue he could have won all 4 of those races. I expected a lot of Chase Elliott this weekend. Looking at the betting odds, Las Vegas expected a lot of Chase Elliott this weekend. The entire NASCAR community expected Chase Elliott, Alan Gustafson, and that number 9 Hendrick Motorsports team to step up. This was going to be the best chance they'd had all season of winning their way into the playoffs. That's a lot of pressure, and we saw on Saturday in qualifying, Chase Elliott just missed it. He missed the final round of group qualifying. He wound up starting 15th, and afterwards he came over the radio and was really upset with himself, saying, I've effing missed it every corner. Chase Elliott was not pleased with his lap yesterday. That's on him. In the race today, they pit Chase Elliott as early as they possibly could in this race. He started 15th, remember, drove his way up to I think about 13th. He was one of the first cars to pit under green, came out with fresh tires and fresh racetrack. No traffic, no dirty air. He was able to set fast laps for a good 4 or 5 laps before the leaders cycled through. Made up a bunch of time. By the time it all cycled out, Elliott had gone from 13th on the track to 7th. Genius way to make up crucial track position. Unfortunately for Elliott and team, the race ran long. We didn't get a single caution until lap 56, so some of Elliott's advantage began to fade as drivers with fresher tires were able to pass him for 7th. He fell to 8th, then fell to 9th. But finally, Chase Elliott got the caution he needed to get back on equal tires. He could once again see the leader out of his windshield. The problem is that Chase Elliott was the caution. He ran out of gas on lap 56. Trying to stretch the window until he'd have to make his final pit stop, Alan Gustafson came over the radio and said they made a miscalculation. They miscalculated how much fuel Chase Elliott had, how much fuel was in their reserve tank, and ran out of gas on the back straightaway. Chase Elliott wound up finishing this race outside of the top 30, one lap down. A catastrophic mistake by crew chief Alan Gustafson, by all of Hendrick Motorsports, whoever is sitting in their war room crunching the numbers. A colossal mistake that cost Chase Elliott a great shot at contending for the win today, earning a spot into the playoffs. An inexcusable mistake, honestly. Driver messed up on Saturday, put them behind with a poor qualifying effort, but then the crew chief and team choked on Sunday, threw away whatever opportunity they had. What a disappointing way to go out. I'm sorry. They still have Daytona. Anyone can win next week. Chase Elliott has run well at Daytona, obviously, in the past. Hendrick Motorsports usually run well on the super speeders. He's got as good a shot, maybe even a slightly better shot than most of his competitors. But to go into Daytona needing to win or go home, not the situation you want to be in. They blew a great opportunity this weekend at Watkins Glen. They crumbled under the pressure. No other way to say it, unfortunately. I feel for Chase Elliott fans out there. It's been a tough season. He's been pretty good, pretty consistent when he's raced, of course. They just haven't been able to win. And when they've had a few opportunities like this, they just haven't been able to get it done for one reason or another. Another playoff bubble driver who also choked today was Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez ran really well at Indianapolis last weekend, had a shot, I think, at the win, but the team made a mistake on that final pit stop. Remember, Suarez ran over the hose. It got caught under his left front. He ended up finishing 3rd. Still a great race. He entered Watkins Glen not needing to win. He was only 28 points behind Bubba Wallace. We'll get to Bubba in a moment. He actually had a very good race by his standards on a road course, but Bubba, historically not a good road racer. Suarez could have made up a few points in the stages, could have made up even more points at the finish. Did not need to win today. Qualified 14th. Okay, not great, but drove his way up into the top 10 really early. Looked like he was going to get at least a couple of stage points when on lap, what did I write down? On lap 6! On lap 6 out of 90, Daniel Suarez makes a mistake, spins out in the bus stop, fell back to like 24th, 25th place, never recovered. Because it was hard to pass out there. We've seen this with the next gen car on road courses. It's very difficult to make up track position. Daniel Suarez had track position and blew it. Just blew it. I've been saying it for weeks. I just cannot trust this team. Sometimes it's the driver, sometimes it's the pit crew, sometimes it's just the cars. Trackhouse has been very up and down in speed this year. I cannot trust this team. They are not consistent, and it bit them today. They'd had a couple really strong weeks in a row, had gotten back into points consideration. Man, and they blew it. You can't spin out on lap 6. Just a costly mistake. We'll look at the points in just a moment, but I was looking forward to the playoff bubble battle today, and a couple of key contenders just took themselves out of contention, unfortunately. Let's take a look at the top finishers, though. There were a few playoff bubble drivers that did have strong runs. They were just never in contention for the win, like AJ Allmendinger. Gets a top 5. I gotta sing AJ Allmendinger some praises because I've been hard on him the last couple of weeks. I predicted he would struggle at Indianapolis. He did. I predicted he'd struggle at Watkins Glen. He didn't. He didn't have winning speed, I don't think, but he was a top 5 driver all day long. They set the fastest time in practice yesterday. That honestly got me a little nervous. Thought I was about to get truly exposed. Allmendinger qualified 5th, 6th, ran a really solid race today, collected stage points. The team executed well on pit road. They just didn't quite have the pace of, obviously, William Byron. You could argue they were as faster than Hamlin, Christopher Bell, some of the Toyotas there at the end, but a good day, a really good day, honestly. Just didn't have winning speed, unfortunately. At this point in the season, they need to win, and this was a great opportunity. Just came up a little short. Ty Gibbs really fast in the last two Xfinity races on road courses. Was honestly fast at Indianapolis last weekend, but never got a chance to show it because he got spun out early on. He gets a top 5. Well done. I think this was his first career top 5, right? Can we say that? Second career top 5, right? Am I saying this correctly? He top 5 at Pocono a few weeks ago. Yes, I think I remember us talking about that. Okay, second career top 5, but really good race for him. Again, just didn't have winning speed. Don't mean to gloss over Denny Hamlin. Ran a solid race himself, qualified on the pole, hung out in the top 3 or 4 pretty much all race long, just not as fast as Byron. Finished his second. Christopher Bell, they need to build some momentum. Like Byron, they've struggled to find consistency, especially this summer. Their highs have not been as high as Byron, but finishing third is a nice step in the right direction. I still believe Christopher Bell with Adam Stevens can make a deep playoff run, but they got to show me some consistency. Today was a nice step in that direction. Great day for Toyota, though. 4 JGR Toyotas in the top 6. Tyler Reddick gets a top 10. Bubba Wallace finishes 12th. And he collected some stage points as well. Let me get the numbers. He got 3 stage points in stage 1, 2 stage points in stage 2, 5 stage points, and a 12th place finish. That's a fantastic day for Bubba Wallace at Watkins Glen. He actually extended his points cushion over 17th place, we'll look at in just a moment. I want to go ahead and mention Michael McDowell, who had that blown motor after a couple of pit road mistakes. He wound up finishing last, unfortunately. So from first 1 week to last the second, man, we talk about the highs and lows of racing. Front Row Motorsports has experienced both substantially in the past 7 or 8 days or so. Kyle Larson, I want to mention as well. He had that speeding penalty towards the end. He was able to race his way back into the top 20, but just door slammed Austin Dillon in the final corner. They both wrecked. Larson ends up 26th. Dillon, checking my notes, finished 31st. I'm not sure yet what brought that on, but it seemed like a really just risky bonsai move by Larson for like 18th place. Just kind of stupid, quite honestly. I don't know if Dillon door slammed him the lap before. If he did, okay, my opinion changes. But assuming that was unprovoked, just a stupid move by Kyle Larson. Like, what are you doing? He ends up 26th. Alex Bowman was another bubble driver I thought might have a decent day today. He was kind of a sneaky dark horse pick. He ends up 23rd, was just never a factor. Qualified 18th. They just didn't have it. That's all. And real quick, Brad Keselowski finished 15th. You can see him right down there. Kevin Harvick finished 21st. They entered this race 14th and 15th in points. At least one of them was going to make the playoffs, but after today, because we didn't get a new winner, William Byron, a repeat winner, they are both locked into the playoffs. On that note, let's go ahead and look at the playoff bubble now with just one regular season race to go. Yeah, pretty much the only way anyone 17th or lower is going to make their way into the playoffs is by winning. Honestly, if I'm Bubba Wallace, I would lay back in stage 1, maybe even stage 2. Hopefully there's one big one and you're not a part of it. So like the worst you could finish is like 25th. Obviously, at some point, Bubba's going to have to go for it. He's not safe. And if a guy like a Ty Gibbs or Chase Elliott or Alex Bowman gets the win, then he's screwed. But if I'm Bubba Wallace, the last thing I want is to get caught up in some mess on lap 10, finish 35th, and then suddenly, Ty Gibbs, Daniel Suarez even are thinking, hey, I can maybe sneak in on stage points. I can sneak in later. You don't want to give them that opportunity. I'm no crew chief. I guess I haven't seen the data. I haven't studied past races. Maybe this is a terrible strategy play. It is hard to pass at Daytona these days. A lot of gridlock up near the front. But I mean, we'll talk more about what you should do at Daytona maybe later this week. But there's a look at the playoff bubble. Again, Keselowski and Harvick are both locked in because there was not a new winner. So we got 20 drivers nearly vying for one playoff spot. And if anyone wins from below the playoff cut line, if Justin Haley wins, he's a great super speedway racer, he'd be in. If Corey LaJoie, who's run up front at the end of some of these things, if he wins, he's in. Saturday night at Daytona is going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. There's a look at your playoff bubble. I guess we can wrap this episode up really by putting this race on the Groovy gauge. I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed. I expected one thing coming in, and I didn't get it. I was expecting Elliott, maybe Suarez, maybe Allmendinger, Gibbs. I expected them to be a factor. I didn't expect, one, for Chase Elliott's team to miscalculate the fuel so horribly. I didn't expect McDowell to blow an engine or Suarez to wipe out on lap 6. No disrespect to William Byron, but he stank up the show for the most part today, particularly when his chief rivals took themselves out. So Byron dominance, whatever, it's fine. That's not going to bring the score down that much for me. What is going to bring the score down, though, is, and we've talked about this, I think after Sonoma in particular, with this car, put aside the fact that it's a spec car, everyone's racing each other in pretty much equal equipment. This car is just built too good for road courses. It's wider, there's more grip in the tires, the brakes are bigger, better. I think they mentioned during the broadcast, the braking zones are a lot shorter. In the past, you could really outbrake someone. We saw in the Xfinity race yesterday, Sam Mayer drove it in really hard, wheel hopped, and got into the leader. Contact, action, chaos, most overused word in NASCAR. We don't get that so much with the next gen because the cars stop too good, brake too well, handle way too well at this type of track. A few drivers I heard like Allmendinger talking about how much more physical this car is, and maybe that's true, but that's because there's more lap time to be had. I don't know off the top of my head, but I imagine this next gen car is turning laps at least a second or two quicker than the Gen 6 ever did at Watkins Glen or at other road courses in particular. Like this car corners better, brakes better. Everything about this car is better at road courses. And unfortunately, that takes away what was the most charming aspect of NASCAR road races. The most charming part of NASCAR road races was that the cars stunk. Drivers were trying to manhandle these massive machines while they tried to meander across these tight, dexterous turns. And it was a fish out of water. It looked a little goofy sometimes, sure, but the racing was awesome because there were more mistakes, there were more openings, more opportunities for passing. With the next gen car handling so well at road courses, and NASCAR Cup Series drivers are better road course racers today, by and large, than they were 15 years ago. We don't see as many mistakes, therefore we don't see as much passing, therefore we typically don't see as much action. Most of the action we see on road courses these past couple of years are guys dive bombing into turn 1, 5 wide. We've seen some good road course races this year. I thought Indianapolis last week was a really good road course race. Coda at the beginning of the year was pretty good, albeit the turn 1 chaos at the end was a little silly. Chicago, and I understand you can put Chicago maybe in its own category, but Chicago was a great race. So something should be done. I'm not smart enough to know what that is. You can't fundamentally change what the next gen car is. You'd have to create a whole new generation of car. And I don't think that's in the budget right now. But can they do something to the tires? They've talked about groove tires in the past. Can they do something aerodynamically? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think that would make much of a difference at this point. Can they add horsepower? Change how the gears work? I'm so far out of my element right now. I'm just throwing something up against the wall to see what sticks. The NASCAR Cup Series road course product is not great right now. I wouldn't give it an F, but it's like a C, maybe a C+. I hope NASCAR continues to tinker, continues to test. I'm going to give this race a 40% on the Groovy gauge. I mean, the most deserving driver in team won. That's always a good thing in my opinion. There really wasn't any strategy in this race even. The tires didn't seem to wear at all. I thought Chase Elliott and Gustafson making the decision to pit early in stage 1 to get some clean track and lay down some fast laps. That was some strategy and that seemed to work. That was interesting to watch, but the end of this race wasn't decided by on-track battling, wasn't decided by strategy so much. It was just Byron led and kept leading and kept leading. So, it was a boring race today, unfortunately. Not every road course has been boring this year, but this one was 40% for me. Let me know what kind of score you would give today's Watkins Glen race on your own Groovy gauge down in the comment sections below. I think that's everything I wanted to cover. I appreciate y'all watching. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR every single day here on Out of the Groove. And thank you to my Patreon supporters for your very generous support. I really appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I will talk to y'all again very, very soon. Congrats again to William Byron. Daytona Saturday night will decide our 16 driver playoff field. I cannot wait. Take it easy, y'all.